Ink-a-dink, 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 ink-a-dink. Wow!
Basil doesn't speak English, and well, there's a reason for that. Like you speak other languages, Basil, he says, when he's ready to learn English, he'll learn English far faster than any of the audience could learn to speak his language.
Now,
Now,
meow.
Basil,
Meow.
well, actually, no. Actually, Basil speaks not Mandarin. That's the official language of the Chinese Communist Party and therefore the official language of China. But the more rural language is Cantonese. But Basil designed his own version of that.
I speak Fujian, so it's perfect.
Okay, called Fujian? No, he's not ready for that yet. He says he'll get there, but he can get there faster than anybody can get to his language. He devised his own language called not Cantonese, but Catanese.
Catanese, yes, of course.
Okay, so we're going to get... Okay, it's early. Do you want me to take you, Basil? I say, why not? Basil BuddhaCat presents. We're going to be going on the air in a few seconds, but do you have a question before we go on the air? Basil, it's Liza Minnelli's cat. Or so he says. It says. Okay, now...
Is it drunk?
Okay, we're going to have our audio man, Tweety. We're going to have him double check us. So what he'll do is he'll be able to cross-reference and see where this call is coming from. Tweety says he's pretty convinced that it's coming from the home of Liza Minnelli, since it shows up on his dial as being Liza Minnelli. Okay. Do you have a question? Oh, by the way, what's your name? Close. Julie. Not Judy, but Julie. Okay, at any rate, so you have a question or a comment, Julie? Okay, Julie wants us actually to go into a rousing chorus of not cabaret, because really, in fact, Julie says that that's really not the way it was written for this show. It's not cabaret.
Right?
It's catbaret. Okay, mic yourself back up. Oh, mic yourself back up quick because Basil's got the cameras rolling. He does this sometimes. Welcome to Basil BuddhaCat Presents. My name is David Stevenson. I'm Basil's co-host, his interpreter, and his gopher, let's face it. Okay, tonight with us we have a guest that graciously has joined us, that's been on Progressive Soup a number of times, Dan Lanzilotta.
Here I am, back.
Okay, this time you get to talk to a more intelligent host, Basil says. So at any rate, Dan comes with a lot of expertise in culinary arts, as we learned on Progressive Soup. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So sweet.
Okay, if you get him from the front, there's always somebody that seems to sneak up behind him in the middle of the show and tickles him from behind. And Basil likes it and he doesn't like it. But at any rate, he says he likes what you did. He's very pleased about that.
No, I feel very, very honored.
Okay. He seems to have taken a like. He liked your hair.
Hey, look, I got a fur ball in my throat just from my own head. I mean, that's just worse. I take a shower, I lose it. I don't throw it out.
Okay.
No.
Well, why put it?
I smoke that. It's protein.
Why put good hair to waste?
Exactly. I got it on eBay.
Okay.
I'm making some serious.
So we invited Dan on to talk about cat cuisine, because Dan is so knowledgeable about human cuisine, but folks, not just the folks that the hot cuisine, but also food that we regular folks eat, and how to go about that more nutritiously, how to make a fine meal on any budget to any taste. So, Dan, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Daniel Lanzilotta.
What brought you to where you are now in life?
I have no idea.
Okay.
In fact, that's the big question I've been asking myself. Will I take a shower? Because most people spend lots of money on going to therapy, yoga. I yoga shower. I just go in the shower.
Yeah.
I do my 4-minute meditation. I come out, I'm baptized, I'm clean. I'm like John the Baptist to myself in the shower. And it's been fantastic in there.
Okay, Basil just wants to know, he heard you say John the Baptist, and he's very impressed by that because Basil, like myself, consider ourselves to be devout Christians religiously. And this is being...
I would hope it was religiously, yeah.
This is our Friday night show, and of course we're going to do a second show with your willingness to that has a little bit more of a religious tone to it.
Yes.
And Basil considers himself, as I do, a Christian religiously and a Buddhist philosophically. Therefore, Basil BuddhaCat. But go ahead, talk a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I've been in the food business for a long time and considered myself a chef of some stature. And then I just took a good look at the world of food recently. In fact, I was having this conversation this afternoon with a friend of mine in Brooklyn, because there's a giant food scene happening out there across the board with everything you can imagine. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm Daniel Lanzilotta, chef, not Chef Daniel Lanzilotta. And in fact...
the chef is not an amplifier. The chef is just sort of like an add-on at the end?
Yeah, it's something I've been doing for a long time, but I don't really define myself as a chef because I do so many other things. And I am very involved right now with building art pieces, mostly hats, high-end hats, out of plastic that's discarded garbage. And now I'm doing a giant chandelier. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out so spectacularly that I could sit for hours building the parts. I work backwards. I make the pieces, then I construct whatever it is that I'm going to construct. And it's all found objects from the dump and garbage. And
so when you say you walk backwards, what do you mean? You have an end point in mind when you start?
I have an idea for a hat. These are not just, silly things. These are fashion hats that you would see like from the 40s. They're based on real hats and ideas that I've seen from a friend of mine's collection of about 300 vintage hats. So I get an idea about a hat, and then I look through the buckets of plastic and junk, and a lot of it's from garbage that plants came in, black pots, trees came in, and I make these really intricate, beautiful hats. I mean, they're phenomenal. And so I'm in the middle of making 12 of them. I'm up to my 5th one, and I'm working on the Home Depot hat, which is going to be completely orange and completely made from Home Depot orange buckets. So, and that's with food in mind. So I will present these in a gallery showing with my food. Because what's happened in the food world, and what's happened is that everybody's a chef, so it's very hard to distinguish yourself anymore from what's happening. No matter how good the food may be, everyone is in this business now, and they're just producing stuff just because they think that's a great thing that they're producing.
Oh, hold on. Basil's asking... He wants to know if you were influenced in any way by Ted Geisel, of course, the author of Dr. Seuss, the author of Cat in the Hat.
I have not been influenced by that in particular situation, and Dr. Seuss. Even though I do admire some of those hats, the big floppy blue and striped hats, I'm more interested in classic hats that women used to wear in the 20s and 30s, and with the nets, and what's happened, if you look at that period of time, America used to be an elegant place. People used to dress up. Now everyone fell into the gap. Everyone wears mediocre clothes. There's just we're a lost culture, and it's across the board. I think we've discussed this before, where the food is represented in mediocrity. The clothes are mediocre. So we're really a culture of mediocrity. And we're resting on our laurels, like, say, the French do in their food, where the food, like you said, the haute cuisine. But that's not happening anymore. It's just too rich and crazy, full of cream and fat. So we've moved entirely away from that to another spectrum of horror, which is trans fat, salt, sugar, chemicals, pesticides. And now we're trying to get back to some kind of sanity with the organic movement and sustainability. So I try to tie in the whole thing of taking objects and looking at objects in a different way. So, for instance, in Gestalt therapy, there's a thing called functional fixedness.
Okay, you're going to have to, for both Basil and me, you're going to have to give us a little quick definition of Gestalt therapy.
Gestalt therapy is a train of thought that's of how the human brain works. Mm-hmm. So if I asked you what this is, you would say it's a cup. Mm-hmm. And I would say it's the sum of its parts, that it is a cup, but it's far more than a cup. Because what I would do is I would deconstruct that cup into something else. For instance, I was walking in a park in Westport up by the beach.
Yeah.
And there was a little swamp, and there was a baseball in the water in this little muddy area. So I went and I picked it up, and I cleaned it off. And evidently, it was sitting in there since like 2003. Had a date, a little kid wrote on it. It said, my first baseball. On it, it was embedded in the leather of the baseball, the ink.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, this is an amazing find. Some kid lost his little baseball in the park. It fell into the swamp area, and because it was still the trees and bushes weren't coming back yet. This was like two or 3 months ago. I was able to get this ball out, and I said to myself, I have to celebrate this ball somehow. This poor kid will never see this ball, but now I have it. So I took the ball, and I deconstructed it, and I took off the red stitching, and I took off the leather, and then there's some string. I took that off, and I put it into categories. And what I was trying to do is to take the baseball, look at it in a different way, and construct a piece of sculpture from it in honor of this child.
Okay, I see Basil's whiskers twitching, and I see.
I would imagine that
actually Joe back over there in the audience, his whiskers are twitching too.
You have no idea what's twitching for me. But so in that baseball,
Basil says he knows.
I would imagine. In that baseball, there's yarn, and then inside the yarn, there's a little red ball embedded in the center.
Yeah.
So I took all of that and I deconstructed it, all the yarn, and that yarn is going to be knitted into a sweater, and I'll get more baseballs and I'll take them apart till I get enough of the yarn to make a sweater.
Actually make a full sweater.
Make a full sweater that's going to be knitted. Yeah. So that would be, if you were coming to me from, say, a corporation, and you wanted to, these corporations now hire consultants on trying to help people to think outside the box. The same corporations that were started to help people see the world in a different way and provide services and answers to our issues, now we're in a situation where they have screwed things up so badly, they go to consultants to figure out what they messed up. Yeah. And special consultants come in and they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach the executives who got MBAs from Harvard, Yale, how to think, which I find very interesting. So,
well, do you think Harvard has any benefit for people in terms of thinking?
Of course, no, they don't think. That's the whole thing. So I had this conversation with a woman in Westport who actually does this for a living. She works with these corporations, and what we're going to do is we're going to team up together, and we're actually doing an event in 2 weeks, not in that vein, but close. And then we're going to take it and bring it to the corporations. So you present a baseball to an executive in a crowd of 30, maybe 50 executives all trying to figure out how to make the world even better through their methods of thinking or not thinking. And you hold up the baseball and you say to them, what is this? And everyone's going to say, and I'm sure that Kitty would agree with me, that it's a baseball. But it's not, because I would be wearing the sweater that was knitted from baseballs.
And now Basil says, he says that the way he perceives what we call a baseball, it's a ball of yarn wrapped in a leather packaging.
Exactly. That's the difference between us and the subspecies of the animal kingdom, where we're supposed to be at the top of the heap.
Well, Basil, we talked a little bit off camera before the show about the Egyptians, and Basil and I have spent a lot of time on the shows talking about. And Basil's quite convinced. He's absolutely convinced that if you look at the wall carvings in the pyramids, that you'll see what amounts to cats. In spacesuits.
I think
that cats came here.
I think that's the Incas. I think down in Peru they've kind of showed those in the very famous stones that they've discovered with the carvings of the stones.
Yeah, Basil's not really keen on Eric von Däniken as an author, but he says he's not a clever author at all, but he's pretty much spot on when it comes to talking about the roots of human thought coming from cats from somewhere else in the universe. It's just convinced of that.
Well, as we were discussing before the show, that would be the cathode ray tube technology that came before what we know as the digital age, where tubes were the means of making electronics work.
Cathode tubes. Yep.
Then it became solid state and transistors and resistors and capacitors and oops, I think I lost myself. Okay. All that kind of stuff. Where the cathode ray, and I'm sure that
nobody's done that on the show in a while. But go ahead.
But Kitty would understand that the cathode ray is a cleaner, more precise, more accurate. It has a character that you'll never find in a digital recording. When you hear a stereo that still uses tubes, I mean, that's just unbelievable. You get to see the glow of the tube, and all the filaments inside the glass are glowing inside the amplifier. How romantic is that?
So it's almost what you're saying is
the romance is gone. That's why the hats.
It's part of the experience.
The hats that I make. They touch a nerve in people because people reminisce about a time that America was manufacturing and building. And let's face it, where are we? The city of what? What was Danbury?
City of hats.
City of hats. And what is it now? What's its identity?
Yeah, but everybody went mad from the mercury, though.
Well, there are other means of making hats now. There's better technologies that could produce hats. We don't make hats anymore. Everything is offshored to some other place on the other side of the world. I mean, you can walk around New York City and there are all the vendors selling hats. Every single hat is made in that other place.
Hold on. Basil says he heard that some guy suffered from mercury poisoning for a number of years and then became mayor.
This kind of thing happens, but I don't know what that's reference to because I'm not astute. Oh, my God, I'm losing my mic. I'm not astute to the politics of the area, but I'll say this. We're back in the same kind of situation with mercury, with the compact fluorescent lights that are being forced upon us by the government with the little, the pigtail.
The ones that and lighting, of course, really doesn't. It's not a big user of electricity relative to other things. It's not a big user of power relative to most everything else in our life.
But we're being forced to. We're here again. In a country of freedom, we're being forced to purchase things that we don't really want because an incandescent light is a far better light than a compact fluorescent light.
I know we're used to the incandescent light, and then Basil says he likes incandescent lights too, but point well taken about these mercury lightings and the potential negative effects.
Oh, I know
of using
I know intimately
mercury.
Because I became a certified energy auditor in the state of Connecticut by BPI, Building Performance Institute. I have the certification.
Yep.
And I was doing energy audits here in Connecticut for a while until I realized that it's just a scam. It's a complete scam. I saw energy auditors that I was following fudge things so that the calculations could be right because it's a kickback system. They have to meet a certain amount of points
sell a certain number of notions to people about energy.
It's kind of weird. So I did about 20 or so audits, and then I decided this wasn't for me. I wanted to check it out. And then once they would sit down with the client or homeowner and go over the energy audit, what needed to be done, how the house was being sealed, what the improvements would be with our values of different types of insulation and changing the windows, not changing windows. And then it came to the compact fluorescent lights, and that's when I was like, people don't have time as it is to do the things they need to get done in their daily lives. And you're asking a homeowner with 3 kids, soccer mom, dad's working, mom's working now. It's just crazy out there. To take if you drop a compact fluorescent light, there's mercury leakage. You have to pick it up very carefully, put it in a sealed bag, and bring it to a receptacle at the orange store that you see all over the big home repair.
The big one.
The big orange one.
The orange color,
that Home Depot something or other.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to put it in the receptacle there, and then it's supposed to be taken care of by whoever.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been in a Home Depot and you've seen these receptacles, they have everything but. I mean, they have garbage and soda cans and wrappers and McDonald's wrap. You know, it's just, and I've checked them out because I that was part of my curiosity. It was like, you're going to ask somebody who has no time in the world to pick up that light, put it in a bag, and drive it to Home Depot? I don't think so. It's going into the garbage.
Pretty much,
and
yeah.
guess where it's going after that?
Landfill.
Into a landfill. And we're talking, micrograms of mercury, but when you accumulate it in the hundreds of thousands of light bulbs that will be breaking or burning out,
yeah,
we're talking some serious leakage into the water system at the artesian well level, back through rain drainage back into the oceans, into rivers. So we haven't, no one's addressed that really, but they just accept the idea that the compact fluorescent light is an okay idea.
Okay, hold on. Basil's telling me that he's had a chance to watch your shows because we have them on the DVDs, and he particularly liked the show where you and I and it was Gwen. I forget Gwen's last name for the moment, but Wayne Winsley were together.
Right.
We were talking about family.
Right.
Now, Basil says he wants to make a comparison, if we can, between human family and cat family, because cats have kind of gotten generations of cats almost never live together anymore.
It sounds
maybe they haven't.
That may be true for human beings as well. I mean, in the modern American society, and it's across the board now, worldwide. I mean, it's no different anywhere else now.
Well, he wants you to compare and contrast, and maybe let's talk about.
I think let's get back to the food notion. That
good enough.
If you're going to be a cat, and your litter is all over the place and given away, and maybe some have gotten smushed by a car or something, or there's that kind of loss. It's no different than the human experience, because the human family, the American family, the unit, that's the most powerful thing there is that cohesiveness between a mom, dad, and kids. And now we have the blended family, and we have gays with kids, and that's all fine and dandy, so long as the child is reared in a loving situation.
Okay, Basil wanted to make sure that, because Basil says that being a devout Christian, he's quite convinced that love is love is love is love is love.
Love is love. Love is love.
Take it out,
We can't separate what the love is, as long as I've seen it with my own eyes, and I had my opinion at one time. It's been changed for the better. So if I were to say that what we really would want is that the family cook together and eat together, but go a little step further to shop together, because what happens is kids go shopping basically with their mom, and if they're very young, they're sitting in the push cart, sitting there looking at their parent, and they're driving up and down the aisles, and the kid is being bombarded by thieves and trickery and packaging and marketing, and everything is about color. It's more box than it is substance or nutrition or high density nutrition where food has got some nutritional value. And so these kids are getting bombarded by Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch, and the packaging alone should be outlawed. Not the large sodas that Mayor Bloomberg wants to get rid of.
Okay, yeah. Basil wants to throw in a little casual remark. He wants to take Captain Crunch and rephrase it as Cat Pan Crunch.
Well,
there you go. Okay.
He's right. Basil's right, because I'm surprised he hasn't, brought up the, Tony the Tiger and.
Basil says he's that friggin' tiger is a fake. That's how he's put it.
Well, they're different tribes and breeds, and so I guess they have their differences like humans do. But the core value, I think, would be for the cats is to try to eat together. And I know that's difficult, being a kitty and trying to open a can or open those bags that are so difficult to open and take out a couple of cups of the dry food and put it into a some kind of tray so the cats can eat. And the same holds true for humans. The food that's available for kids is really monstrous in so many ways. It has no real value whatsoever because no one really knows how to cook anymore. So it's a matter of rushing and convenience and opening packages, and everything's in plastic. It doesn't go back to that place where perhaps you remember, I know I certainly do, where mom cooked and family came over and ate and broke bread and shared wine. And I was drinking wine when I was probably less than 12 years old. I wasn't drinking a lot of it. My father did. Oh, who's this? Who could this be?
Hold on. Basil BuddhaCat presents. Okay, it's former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin.
Oh, I love her.
Governor Palin, former Governor Palin. We're not doing any political shows for a while. We're trying to stay a little bit more in the realm of humanity rather than the realm of Republican primary. Besides, all over with. You've got your candidate. Everybody needs to, on the Republican side, rally behind former Governor Mitt Romney. So we'll get you back on. What Basil? Basil wants to know: Are you still shooting wolves from helicopters and planes, and sending them down to Texas and having them strung up on the route that Mitt Romney takes? Not Mitt Romney. Governor Rick Perry walks his dog. You remember that Governor Rick Perry of Texas out walking his dog, and along comes a coyote, and Governor Perry pulls out his shooting iron, as they call him in Texas, pops the coyote. So Governor Palin, former Governor Palin, okay, I just want to explain this real quick, and then we're going to have to go back to our show at hand. Former Governor Palin decided that she'd shoot herself some wolves,
right?
Have them shipped down to Texas so they could be strung up on the walking route
as a message,
just in case there's no coyote out that day.
A very clear message to the coyotes, I would imagine. I know if I was a coyote and I saw a wolf hanging, I probably wouldn't be paying attention to it because I'm a coyote and not a wolf.
See, now Basil's not. His ears are twitching and his whiskers are.
I would imagine
twitching. He's really. What? Oh, hold on. I think there's someone there. Hold on. Basil thinks that somebody's scratching him behind him, kind of tickling him from behind.
Well, who could that be?
It's Governor Mitt Romney, former Governor Mitt Romney.
I am shocked.
Okay, that is really a cheap and tawdry way to get back on the show. So we're just going to have to put you back down in the chair, and we'll have you back another day. Okay. Actually, we're actually going to have.
What does mitt mean? I mean, what is that? Something you put on your hand?
Like a catcher's mitt, I guess.
Oh, right.
I guess.
Excellent.
Now, here's a trivia question for you. What's his real name?
What is his real name?
His given.
It's probably a Mexican name, since isn't his family from Mexico?
Nope. They're Mormons. His father was governor of Michigan.
Right. But he lays claim to like some kind of Mexican heritage or something.
Think back to a movie that Michael Jackson. No, it wasn't Ben. There's a movie about a rat. Think about a rat back in a movie in the 70s, and the name of that rat, Willard.
Willard, that's his real name?
That's Governor
How
Romney's
fitting.
first name. Yep.
Wow.
Willard Mitt Romney. Mitt's just the nickname for him.
Is that right? So we're getting a president with a nickname. How awesome.
You never know. Well, at any rate, we're going to have to break away from there. We're going to come back and do a Sunday morning show, which of course will have, as we usually do, a more religious tone. This has been Basil BuddhaCat Presents. I'm David Stevenson, Basil's co-host. And with us, we've graciously had Dan Lanzilotta talking about a number of topics. Good night.
They say they'd rob your grandma blind on Wall Street, fritter her away her Medicare on Wall Street, and Pharma Oil and their pet fox don't care if she lives in a box, so long as they wear platinum jocks On Wall Street, on Wall Street. Meow.